Welcome to Faith Exclusive Episode 6, where we discuss topics that challenge you and assist in finding the solutions for a better outcome and a way forward. I'm your host, Faith. In Episode 5, we discussed maintaining peace. In this episode, we are discussing forgiveness. Our disclaimer is a reminder that this podcast should not be taken as legal counseling or advice. Information on this podcast is for inspiration, and we cannot be held liable for information included in this podcast. Do not rely solely on the information shared. If you do, we will not be held liable for such reliance. This podcast isn't a substitute for professional advice. We are not a professional. The content is opinionated and the terms of use are to the best of our knowledge. We also reserve the right to change the management of this podcast. Let's get started. What does it mean to forgive someone? The Mayo Clinic says forgiveness is an, and I quote, intentional decision to let go of resentment and anger. The act that hurt or offended you might always be with you. But working on forgiveness can lessen that act's grip on you, unquote. How well do you forgive others for their offenses against you or the hurt and pain caused? How long does it take for you to forgive and release it from your mind, heart, and emotions? I believe it's easier for the offender to move on than it is for the one offended. Some even think that the offended is overreacting to what happened and usually have their own time frame for the other person to forgive them. I do believe, just like any other wound to the physical body, wounds take time to heal from the inside out. Mental, spiritual, emotional, and soulish wounds need time. If you're joining, welcome to Episode 5, where we discuss forgiveness. Saying that you forgive doesn't automatically heal the wound. Like any other wound, it depends on how deep. For some, time does matter. For others, therapy is needed. Coming to terms with what happened and making sense of it is important at times, especially when you did nothing to deserve the treatment. Why would someone do that to you? Was it intentional or unintentional? Are they aware of their behavior? Is this person toxic or unhealthy for you or others? We know that humanity is imperfect and make mistakes. But how do you know when you've been targeted for someone's next victim? Regardless of the offender's reason for offending or hurting you, you're left with dealing with your personal healing journey. If you're joining, welcome to Episode 5, where we discuss forgiveness. We hear it all the time, how you can forgive but never forget. The effects may no longer exist, but the memory of the event becomes your story. You have to make the decision to not allow the scenario to haunt you. Your feelings are valid and you have every right to explore them. Forgiveness increases the healing process, it releases them and sets you free. Some would say that if you replay the events or if you are still talking about it, you haven't let go or moved on from that place. I beg to differ, because your thinking about it could be you processing and working through what happened. Doing so may allow you to pull the lessons in order to prevent reoccurrence. Talking about it could just be your testimony for something you survived. Everyone has their process and it's not the same. Don't let anyone steal that from you. The person who committed the act or acts against you didn't have to do it, so they can't force your process for healing. If you're joining, welcome to Episode 5, where we discuss forgiveness. The argument is, should you allow them back into your life? Should it be business as usual? Do they get the same access to you? Should you trust them again? Are they safe? And should you cut them completely out of your life? The Mayo Clinic article states that reconciliation isn't always a guarantee and forgiveness doesn't mean things will change. I truly believe it depends on what took place. I believe some situations are minor and boundaries can be set to protect yourself. On the other hand, major events that cause life-altering changes that can't be undone are another story. Forgiveness can be extended for both, but in some cases where it causes injuries, life-threatening or trauma that someone will have to adjust to for the rest of their lives is a serious matter. Can you afford for them to offend again? To what detriment are you willing to chance it? Is the relationship or connection worth it? And what do you stand to gain? Some people's lives have been completely destroyed by reconciliation, and some have lost their lives. Are you willing to make that sacrifice? Or believe that the world is big enough to find healthier and safer relationships and connections? If you're joining, welcome to episode 5 where we discuss forgiveness. Look at life this way. We all have a choice on how we choose to show up in life and how we treat one another. I understand that everyone has bad days and life happens. Some people are emotionally intelligent, so they know how to control themselves and extend themselves maturely. Lots of people have bad days and still exemplify respect, great character, integrity, morals, and values. Lots of people have dealt with life and do the same. So it's a matter of choice. I also believe that the first offense could be a mistake, the second time is a choice. Minor offenses you can recover from, but major offenses leave scars or injuries for life. I do believe that it depends on the person. Associates, acquaintances, family, spouses, or children make a huge difference. Regardless of who, how, and the measure of offense, you owe it to yourself to protect you. Your health and life are important and you can't be replaced, but the relationship can. Just like you make the choice to treat others right, they can too. We often hear that hurting people hurts people. My question is, how long do they get to use that excuse and hurt others before getting help, since they are aware that they are hurt? It's something to think about, and loving yourself is most important. If they valued the relationship, would they have done what they did? Most people usually protect what they value. That brings us to the end of this episode. We appreciate you during our discussion regarding forgiveness. We hope this ignited something in you that provoked your curiosity. As always, we welcome you back and appreciate your listening ear here on the Faith Exclusive podcast. Please subscribe, like, and share.